Welcome to the Healing My Parts podcast, a podcast dedicated to educating and raising awareness about dissociative identity disorder, also known as DID. We are your hosts, the system behind Healing My Parts, which also includes parts that function as a therapist and leader in a mental health niche space. We'll be sharing tips and tools that have helped us and many others, while also sharing insights from our own journey of living with the condition. We'll also be hosting guests for conversations to help educate, dispel myths, and most especially help those living with dissociative identities and professionals who treat the condition. Thank you so much for tuning in. And now, let's get healing. Welcome to episode 10. We are your hosts, the system behind Healing My Parts, and we are very excited to welcome Melz to the show today. We met in person for the first time at the Healing Together conference this past February, and we have been nurturing a beautiful friendship ever since that time. We absolutely adore them, and we know that all of you will too. I am going to let them more fully introduce themselves to you, and so first, welcome to the show, Melz.
Hi. First off, hello to everybody. My name is Melz, and that's what we prefer to go by as a system name. It kind of includes all of us, and we are just a human that has gone through many, many experiences, life experiences, and we definitely try to use the experience that we have, that we've gotten over, and even stuff that we're still working through to help advocate for other people and show people, hey, there's a way out. Like, you're not alone. You know, we try to just be a voice for other people and be a helping hand.
Love that so much. And we'll make sure that at the end that people know how to find you and how to follow you, and we'll drop it in the show notes too, because I think as you guys listen to what Melz has to say, you are going to definitely want to be following them. They post some really great stuff on their Instagram account. So a lot of people who listen to podcasts or like scour social media, a lot of times are doing that as a way of trying to figure out, you know, what might be going on within themselves. And so we know, of course, like if you've met one system, you've met one system, and all systems are different. And a lot of times people will be looking for something and they're like, oh, this person has DID or OSDD, but that doesn't sound like me, so I guess I don't have that. When really they actually might. Their system might just present sort of differently. And I think that sharing a variety of experiences can be really helpful for people, not just people who might have DID and OSDD, but people who definitely have it and are looking for validation and shared experiences, and also therapists and other providers who are working with folks who have DID and OSDD. So all of that said, would you be willing to share how you found out that you are a system and like what signs and symptoms that you noticed?
Yeah, of course. So for us, it all started when I was 13. So I was 13 and I started hearing I heard what I thought back then was myself talking in my head, which before this day, my head was silent. I never had, I didn't really know what thoughts were. Like, seriously, it was just like a thing. Like, I would be told, hey, go in your room and think about what you did. And I'd be like, I didn't even really understand how to think, right? So silenced in my head. Well, one day I started hearing what I thought was myself in quotation marks talking, and it was inside my head. And then I noticed I was answering myself back. And then I noticed that I was arguing with myself. And then I had the thought, I guess, at the time, I was like, hey, that's not me, because I notice I'm watching myself have an argument. And I just felt like I was shrinking to the very back of my head and became really small. And I was like, what is going on? So for me, that was my first thought that something was going on. And let me tell you, this was pre-internet era. So there was no way for me to like just go and do a Google search to see what was going on. All I had at the time was my mom really to go to. I had a dad too, but we never really talked. My mom was the only person that I could go to, but she was also part of the problem sometimes. So her thinking back then was, you don't need doctors, you don't need therapists, like everything's fine with you, like there's nothing wrong with you, kind of a thing. And like, if you're sick, you're taking 2 aspirin and you're going to school, like, you know, so that was her thing. So I had gone to her and I was like, Mom, there's something wrong. Like, and I was trying to explain it. And I remember trying to think of like, how do I put this into words? Like, because there, like, again, there was no internet. So I had no way of knowing how to verbalize it, what was going on. So my best thinking was I was having loud thoughts. Because it was, but I was like, but it's not a thought because I'm not thinking about anything. I'm talking. I'm just talking inside my head. And to me, I'm like, that's not really what thinking is it? Like, that just didn't make sense. So, because anyways, my thinking was not in words. It wasn't in, I don't know what it was, but it was in a higher part of my brain that I didn't really feel like I had access to. And so I asked my mom about it, and she's like, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine." And that was that. So from then on, so I was 13 at the time. I believe that was eighth grade. I started to go to the school library. I would spend my lunches in the library, reading all the books that I could, trying to figure it out, and nothing really. I couldn't really find anything. So fast forward to when the internet came out. I think I was about 19 at the time, and I started putting in my symptoms, and up came stuff about what was still being called multiple personalities at the time. And I was like, oh, let me check this out. I was like, this is what it kept coming up for me. And I'm like, okay, let me, I found a chat room and found some other people that said that they had MPD at the time, and started talking to them and found that, like, wow, my experience really lined up with what they were talking about. And so I had figured it out for myself. I was like, all right, this is what I got going on. But, I had a lot of other issues going on at that time in my life as well. So I didn't really see a therapist for too long. I did for a minute, but like, life was just crazy for me at that time. But I knew it was, I knew that's what it was called then, even though I didn't really get a diagnosis until way much, much later. So that was really my experience.
I love how you differentiated thoughts and talking. I feel like this comes up all the time when people are trying to figure out like what's going on in their head. Personally, I actually thought that the voices talking were thoughts. And it took a while to realize, oh wait, but there are other things that are thoughts. So I love that you brought that up. It's been something that a couple of people that I've been chatting with lately have been bringing up. If you were to meet people who are systems that are kind of newly diagnosed, what would you tell them that you think is the most important first steps in healing as a system?
I would say finding community, like finding your tribe. That has been like the biggest thing that has always helped me is finding the people where I feel like I fit in, where I feel like I belong, the people that are speaking my language. Like that makes like all the difference, like more than the therapist has helped and more than Google searches and all that stuff and reading the literature. It's finding people who are like me, like, in a similar situation. Because it's a different language, and you don't have to complicate things by really trying to find the words for it, because the people in your community, they get it, they understand. And it's just like, it feels like, oh, I'm the missing piece of the puzzle that just fits right in here. And definitely find your community, like find the chat room or community, a forum, or some kind of a community you could join, or even like for me, I started out with Facebook groups, and I found different Facebook groups and I tried all of them, every single one that I could find. I joined them, and I just waited till I found my tribe and the people that I felt comfortable talking to, because you got to be careful too out there. You never know what you're going to find. So proceed with caution, but when you find it, you will know.
Do you have recommendations for like where people can potentially look, or what terms or search terms that they could use?
Yeah, one of the groups that I'm on is a System Speak community. So that's definitely one. Maybe you could link that down in your show notes at the end. That one has been really helpful. And then there's another one that just started too, and I don't know why I'm drawing the biggest blank on it, but it's very brand new.
The one a
Shoot.
couple of multiples are doing?
Yes, the one that a couple of multiples are doing. They just started a community as well. It's only been, I think, less than 2 months that's been going on, and they're trying to get that going. So that's definitely another one I would check out.
Totally, both really reputable too. Like those are completely going to be safe for people.
Yes.
I will definitely link those in the show notes. I'm thinking about what it's like when you finally log in, especially when you have the opportunity to maybe be on a Zoom or a live group and you just sit there hearing other people verbalizing your experiences that you haven't been able to put into words. And all of a sudden, you go from feeling like you're the only person in the world with those experiences to, like you said, just finding your tribe. And it's so incredibly affirming to have that happen. And I think it's really hard with this particular diagnosis.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Once somebody finds their tribe, let's say, or even like while they're looking for that, or maybe for you, what's the next step that you think is really important?
Well, I know for me, it was really important for me to find a therapist. For me, that was the next step. I wanted to find a therapist. I wanted to get properly diagnosed. Because too, a lot of something that I've experienced is a lot of denial. Because even coming to figuring it out on my own, like, and self-diagnosing, I just still felt invalid. I was like, well, I'm not a doctor. Well, I'm not a therapist. Well, I mean, yeah, I know me better than anyone else would be because I'm me. Like I know the experience. I know what's going on. But like, well, I don't have that, the lettering at the end of my name. So I mean, for me, it was really important to get diagnosed properly. So I actually had finally found a therapist, and I was like, can you do the tests? Just do all the tests, and I had her take me through all the different tests. And even then, after that, I still struggled with some denial after that. It's so incredibly, it just my brain. It's hard for me to wrap my brain around that. But yeah, and then actually that therapist ended up really helping us out. Like it was amazing to find a therapist. First of all, a therapist that even believed that it was a real thing, because that was a challenge when I was trying to find the therapist. Like one of the therapists was so dismissive. She was just like, no, you don't have that. I'm like, I've talked to you like twice. How are you so sure? Have you done tests? Like, I'm telling you, this is what I think's going on, and I want you to test me. And she was just like, nah, like you don't have that. That's such a rare thing. And it's like, okay, so I found it was just like difficult just to even find a therapist that will believe me to begin with. And then to even listen to me, like I screened her ahead of time, like through email. Cause I was like, I gotta make sure I don't want to keep wasting my time on these therapists. Just don't get it, So definitely I would recommend when you're trying to find a therapist, send the emails out, question them ahead of time, ask for the free consultation. They'll do, the good therapist will do the 15-minute free consultation for you. Like do that ahead of time when you're trying to find the right therapist for you.
That is such good advice. It is really frustrating that in 2024, we still have people who work in the mental health profession who don't quote unquote believe in DID or OSDD. It's a variety of things. I mean, I remember for us back in the 90s when we were first diagnosed, that was during false memory syndrome, right? So it was kind of like, hey, you have MPD. Sorry, nobody's going to treat you because all the therapists are getting sued. So it was like, here's this label for you, and good luck figuring it out. So then and I was thinking about that when you were also talking about denial, because I feel like there's so many reasons why systems are in denial. For us back then, it's like, well, this must be a mistake. So we just have to figure out how to keep living, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are some other things for us which are not relevant to this conversation, but then in general, day-to-day life is so varied when you're a system. It's really easy to be in denial. If you have a day where your head is more quiet, I must have made all that up. Or
Yeah.
if I look at, before we started recording, you and I were talking about like DSM-5 criteria or DSM-5 TR criteria. And it's like, that doesn't even sound like what most people experience. So you look at that and you go, all right, well, this is wrong. I don't have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's why it's important to find a therapist who's well versed with DID. I'm not saying that's like really necessary all the time, because there are some therapists out there who could be really great for people who have DID who are just learning about it or want to learn about it and aren't dismissive. But for me personally, I just found it was really important to have somebody well versed with DID because it helps a little bit with that denial, because like on the days where I'm like, I don't think I have this, my therapist would be able to work around that with me and still be able to work on some things and, um, yeah, just help me get through that rabbit hole.
And also having education, I think, right? When things aren't going well in our lives, right? Where we're struggling with something in our daily functioning, let's just say having a therapist who can also link that back to this is actually part of being a system. This is what you're going through right now is really common. So if you go in, for example, to a therapy session and you have no idea what you talked about last week or last session or the session before or the session before, if you're a system, that's really common. Turns out that's not actually very common for other people who are not systems. Who knew? But it helps, for a therapist to say, hey, that's actually really normal. And it's also can be evidence of the dissociation that you are dealing with in your life.
Yeah, exactly. And if they're going just by the DSM too, it's like that. I feel like that would be a therapist that's not really well versed. If all they know is what the DSM says and they don't really have experience with other systems, then it's like, ooh, if you're trying to find a diagnosis, I'm not 100% sure that they would be the best person to go to, just because like a lot of my symptoms weren't exactly fitting the DSM criteria. Like I wasn't waking up in places and being like, oh, how did I get here? I don't remember putting these clothes on. And not to discount systems who do experience that, because there are some systems who do experience that, but I feel like that's the extreme end of it. And I feel like not a lot of systems, even from what I've met and known, like personally, that's not their experience, right? And so just that alone, like, was a big thing for me. I'm like, well, maybe I don't really have it because that I'm not experiencing that. And that's like one of those criteria. And it seemed like to be highlighted as one of the major criteria. And I'm like, well, okay, and that was just, it took a lot longer for me to really accept what was going on.
We feel like I'm trying to think of how to put this in words, the way in which amnesia is described in the literature is really poorly done.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right, it so often is just, you know, relegating everybody who is a system to having like a fugue state with amnesia, no idea how I got here, waking up, who am I talking to? I don't even know who you are, rather than being able to put it in terms that make more sense to people who are experiencing it. Like you might find things you have no idea where they came from in your house, right? Or you log into an account to find that there are things that are completed that you could have done, but you have no recollection of doing that. Maybe an email that was written.
Mm-hmm.
Can't tell you how many times you've gone in to write an email and the email's already been sent. Okay. Or, some your Netflix has been watched. Or going someplace and people come up and start talking to you and you know that you're supposed to know who these people are, but you can't quite figure out who they are. And then you're trying to figure out how you know them,
Mm-hmm.
or forgetting things like your address. All of a sudden you can remember like your childhood address, but you can't remember your address that's current.
Yeah.
There's so many different things that shows up like. But I feel like whenever you're doing testing or whenever people are asking us about it, you're right. It is sort of like, have you ever woken up someplace?
Yeah, a lot of it too is like, you might find something that you've written and you're like, you wrote that, but you're like, you don't recognize your writing. You're like, but that's not my writing, but I had to have written that. Like, so it's that kind of stuff. It's those little things, or like, if you're in a relationship with somebody, like, and they're telling you just the other day, you said you hated a certain food and you're like, oh no, I love that food. I'm like, what do you mean? You just said the other day that you hate that. I'm like, I I have no recollection of that. Like I wasn't losing chunks of hours of time. Like it'll be minutes at a time sometimes, or I don't know how. I'm still figuring out like how does that work. Like parts will be around, and sometimes we have co-consciousness. So the majority of the time, actually. So it'll be like, okay, they'll be out, and I'll kind of know what they're saying and stuff at the time, but like later on, I don't have access to that. It's like, well, okay, I know that's right. They were there, but I don't recall them saying that. Like, so it's those little things, and that's the stuff that's not in the literature, stuff that's not in the books. So I've heard recently having the amnesia for amnesia, and I was like, wow, that really resonates for me, because I have the amnesia for the amnesia. Like I'm not remembering the times that I'm not remembering, you know?
That is the piece that I feel like most clinicians don't get because it's not how it's presented. But if you're losing time, you don't know that you're losing time.
Yep.
If you knew that you were losing time, it's not necessarily lost
Yeah, right?
in some ways, you know. That is the piece when people, I think, are trying to figure it out, whether you're a clinician or you're somebody who thinks that you might be a system and you're looking at these descriptions and you're like, that's not what I experienced. But then when you find your tribe, like you were talking about, and you hear people starting to say things like what you were just talking about, then it's like, oh, wait, but those things do happen to me. And I think just a little while ago, someone in our community had shared a podcast episode from System Speaks, and Emma and, oh, her partner, I think it's a Julie or Julia, Jules. Okay,
Jules.
they were talking about, I think they were calling it like retrograde amnesia. It's a great conversation. So, Emma starts laughing. She's like, well, I think that's what amnesia actually is. Jules was talking about, having having an experience and kind of like having a vague recollection that she had the experience, but it takes a while to have some of that information start filtering back in, but doesn't really have all of the details. And that's something that can happen, like this sort of gray out thing that nobody writes about that anywhere.
Mhm. I know. It's like that. It's that what I've been told. You have selective amnesia. You only hear what you want to hear. And I'm like, okay. I'm not doing it on purpose. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, uh, I don't remember you. I'm like, you did not tell me that. And they're like, yes, I did. And I'm like, man, so many times feeling gaslit, so many times. And it's just like, you guys are making this up. But like, sometimes, like, when it happens so often, you're like, okay, like, what's going on? Like, I mean, when you figure out that you have DID and you're like, okay, well, can I trust this person? Is this person trustworthy enough that I could actually trust that they're telling me? Because that's a scary thing, like, I'm always like, oh, I don't want to get taken advantage of. What if they try to say like, yeah, you said this and you really didn't, like it's a big trust thing. Like, you really got to make sure you trust someone. Because with my ex, it was just like, I knew I could trust her. So I was like, okay. But even then, it was challenging because I still would feel gaslit sometimes. I'm like, yeah, but really, did I say that? It's still like, proceed with caution. I'm not, I don't remember. And I will tell her, I'm like, I don't remember saying that, but if you said so, okay, like, one of us must think that. But that's not me.
That feeling of being gaslit, I feel like is so common when you're a system. Realizing how often we can think, why are they saying that? Like, why are they gaslighting me? Similarly, people who tell stories about, oh, remember when we, fill in the blank, and you're like, yeah, no, that wasn't me. That was somebody else. Like, I don't remember that. Your memory sucks. And then you realize, wait, I think that about a lot of different
Yep.
people a lot of the time. Ding, ding, ding. That might be a clue.
It might be a clue. You might have DID if.
It would be really nice if there was more sort of user-friendly language to some of the criteria out there, not just for people who think they might be systems or who are systems for validation, but the clinicians who are tasked with identifying it. Because very often, if
Yeah.
for people who didn't listen to the episode right before this one, we were going over diagnosing DID and OSDD. And while we have these formal instruments that we can use, you don't always get the right diagnosis through those instruments because it depends on what part shows up to take them. And if it's the same part, for a period
Hmm.
of time, it might look like you don't have it when you do. So if you're in a relationship, if you're a provider and you're in a relationship with a person, over time you start to see red flags. Somebody for whom has been through multiple treatments, right? Like none of them
Hmm.
worked, for example. People who can't track from session to session, people who are constantly feeling like maybe they're being gaslit when maybe they're not. Or like you just pointed out, I hate that food. No, but actually I really like that food. Who said that? That couldn't have been said that. I didn't say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see that. I mean, and why would she say that I said that if I didn't say that? So, okay, that's got to be a different part that I'm not even aware of, because I had no clue we didn't like that food.
And then people just think you're wishy-washy or fickle, right? So you like ice cream on Tuesday, but you hate it on Thursday. Yes.
Mm, yeah. Or they just think you're a liar because they're like, you lie all the time because you say this and then you say something totally different later, and they're just like, then they don't trust you. You're like, yeah, they don't,
That part's really rough.
Oh gosh.
Getting accused of that is really rough.
Yeah.
And it's the go-to sometimes because people don't know, and we don't talk enough about DID or OSDD. So the general public doesn't really know that it's a thing that exists beyond the really awful portrayals in the media. Right. So they're like, well, you don't look like this character in that show that I watched, so therefore you must be lying.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I know. And I've been trying to closely follow The Young and the Restless because currently they have a character on there who has DID, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's just like I want them to get the right information. Like the media is always portraying us as these serial killers or murderers. And once again, dun dun dun, they were like this lady had this part that wanted to kill somebody. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can you guys stop? Like monopolizing off of something that isn't even a part of us. Like there's just as much chance of somebody with DID being a murderer as there is any other human being. Like it's not like a thing. It's just and that's like one of the things I felt like it was important for me to start vlogging on my Instagram channel because I'm friends with a lot of people that don't have anything to do with DID at all. Like I've used my regular Instagram account that I've had since whenever Instagram came out. And I've built up a following in the different sports that I do. So I have people from all walks of life on my Instagram channel. And so I thought it was important to just use that platform to get the correct information out there to regular people that wouldn't have access to that kind of information anyways. They're not going to have DID info just pop up on their Instagram feed like I do all the time because I'm following all these DID accounts. So I feel like it's important to be like a person just to advocate for us and be like, hey, look, I'm a regular normal person you've known for all these years and check it out.
That is so helpful too, because I think that's the only way that we're going to overcome stigma, right? Is that people who are in positions of relative safety, if we begin acknowledging who we are, especially to people who have known us forever, then they start realizing, oh, okay, so DID, OSDD, it looks like normal everyday people. Where it gets really colorful is inside our heads.
Yeah, we're just regular old people out there. I mean, that's the thing with DID. It's supposed to be hidden. Like, it's not a thing to be like on display. Like, that's dangerous, you know? So, not to discount any systems that have that experience because some systems are very overt. And it's just not my experience.
And I think often, even for the systems that are fairly overt, I might be incorrect about this, but during literally during trauma time, it's covert because if it was overt, then you never would have survived the trauma. So there's masking that goes involved. Like you might have multiple different parts, but they all mask and they look the same on the outside
Right.
and they sound the same. And a lot of times it becomes more overt when the trauma is over. And
Mm-hmm.
there are situations of relative safety within the home where parts can come out more overtly. And you can have parts that are overt at home, but would never come out in public.
Yeah.
So just because you see somebody that is presenting, sort of more consistently,
Right.
it may not mean that they don't have some overt parts at home. Fun fact.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you're more comfortable, like it's easier to just be yourself for sure. And like all parts could just be free to be themselves when they're in a comfortable, safe space.
Do you have thoughts for people who are trying to figure out like who their parts are? Like how do you kind of work on awareness? How do you begin working on identifying parts and communication even?
Oh man, I could only go by like my own experience. And for me personally, it was about just asking. I try to talk to them since I heard the communication inside. I would just go inside my brain and I would use my voice in there and I would just ask questions. Like if I heard somebody talking, I'm like, hey, hi, like, what's your name? Like try to get info about them. Like, and if they would talk to me, like try to ask more, like, tell me something about yourself, or or like, I mean, I could recognize if they're male or female just by their voice, which was easier, but I wasn't. Let me back up a little bit because some parts aren't just male or female. Some parts are in that non-binary section as well. But like, so I don't want to just say because they sounded like a boy or they sounded like a girl, because some of the kids, they all sound the same. Like, but I'm talking about for the older ones, right? But I would even ask them like, are you a boy or a girl? If I wasn't sure, and I would ask them, hey, what's your age? And like for me, that was just like the beginning. And like I would try to ask questions as long as they were able to continue talking to me, but like oh, I don't know how we lose the connection sometimes, but sometimes we'll be like talking and then I don't know that the connection's gone. And it's like, well, did I leave you or did you leave me? Well, I don't know what happened there, but all right. And maybe that was enough for now and we'll come back to that later. So, and I would just slowly, like, I would write it down. I would start writing everything down and journaling about it. And that was how I started to learn about my system. And then later on, be able to start mapping out my system and figure out, like, who was closer to who. And, and if I didn't know, like, if I didn't get their name, I would write down little characteristics that I noticed about them, or like the feelings that came up for me when I was talking to them, or when I noticed them talking to someone else. Like, I would just write down all those things. And eventually I was able to compile this big list and start figuring out who's who. And I'm still figuring out, because we haven't really figured out everybody yet. Like, not everyone's comfortable with divulging all the information, which is totally fine. Like, all in their own time. If I need to know, cool. If not, fine, live your best life. Like, as long as we could address the things that are affecting us all overall and make sure, we're doing okay, like, and we're safe and we're stable, like, the rest of that stuff, I feel like will just like sort itself out.
I love how you're able to kind of go with the flow around that, because I definitely know people who are really upset when they can't figure out like all the details right away. And people can get very stuck on how exactly do you communicate internally. And it's so difficult to give that to people, because for us, different parts communicate different ways.
Mhm.
And this might happen for you guys too. I'm not sure, but we'll get, absolutely, there are different voices. So there's different conversations. And sometimes there's that, I'm rolling my eyes. Nobody can see that, but you can, right? I'm like rolling my eyes because like then there's that point where it sounds like you're at somebody's like massive celebration. So you can hear like a ton of voices, but you can't actually figure out what anybody's saying. It's just really loud in there.
Mhm.
Or suddenly some parts will communicate using like visual imagery
Mhm.
inside the headspace. Others will communicate just through like emotions that don't make any sense. Like there's so many, or physical sensations, even. There's so many different ways parts can communicate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not always in talking, and I've been learning that about our system. Like, not everybody talks out loud in the head. Like, sometimes it is just the visual or a feeling, or like, I just recently, our friend Megs from It's Not Our Imagination sent us some art supplies, because I realized we don't have any art supplies. What if one of the ways some of our system communicates is through art and through drawing and all that stuff? So we just started that, and actually we discovered one of our parts, she I because I knew one of us is an artist, and I don't ever know who. Like, I don't consider myself an artist, because I'm like, oh, try to draw something and I don't feel like I'm very good at it. But we have some parts that have been really good over the years, and through this we discovered that one of our younger parts is one of the main contributors, and she was drawing something and then she put her name on it. I was like, sweet, thank you, this is awesome. It's good to see that, like, it's nice to have a name to all these drawings that I've been seeing over the years. And yeah, so apparently art is something for her. That's like her outlet, and that's one of the ways she communicates. So, I mean, it's just about trying different things that you hear other systems trying. Like, it's being open to try new things. And because I used to be that person in the beginning that was like, oh, if they're not talking to me, like, what's wrong? What am I doing wrong? Like, how, like, well, I need to know everything, and I need to know it now. And it's just all that to just stress me out. And then over the years of getting to know, finding my tribe and getting in the community, I was just able to discover different ways to be more loving towards my system, instead of being like, you got to tell me, you're like, you're in my brain. That means you're me too. You have to tell me. And it's like, no, dude, nobody wants to be talked to like that. Like, I would never talk to one of them if they were talking to me like that. So I had to just learn how to love on them, which also included how to love on myself. Like, oh, why am I so hard? If I'm so hard on myself, I'm also so hard on them, because especially some of the younger littles, they don't understand if I'm just being mad at myself and talking and grumbling, and they like take it personally. I'm like, ooh, ouch. You got to just, walk with caution, and just proceed with love. And that was definitely a learned skill through my community.
Yeah, that you bring up such an amazing point, because that place of compassion, empathy, and love for all parts is really pivotal, I feel like, in the healing process, beginning to understand And this does come from community, right? Beginning to understand that all parts have a really important purpose and that everything that parts are doing is really typically with the good of the whole system in mind. And I remember for us, it was an episode of the Ring Systems YouTube. They're actually going to be coming on in August, I believe, which is fantastic. They did a collab with the Alexandrite system and they were talking about, recognizing that they were part of a system and the importance of really loving every part in that system, including the persecutors, understanding that like the persecutors are so misunderstood that really a lot of times what they're doing is trying to make you strong enough to be able to withstand abuse that might be coming. It's in the interest of your survival, and you can kind of work with them to redirect that and to find other things. But until you other things for them to do that is, but until you can approach that with love and appreciation, they don't soften. And it can be really hard to appreciate something that is potentially hurting your body or hurting you emotionally. But when you begin to understand the intent by doing that work, then it feels like it shifts.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard, but
It's very, very important though to love, especially the darker parts, the scarier parts who are just, they're so full of pain and they need the most love. And of course, they're not getting it because, like, when you have that attitude, usually people are like, oh, I'm scared of you, I'm staying away. But really, those are the ones we need to turn into, lean into, and love on them. I've had that experience with a couple parts within our system, and where I was just like, I don't know. I don't even want to talk to this part because they just piss me off so bad, and I'm just like, I don't get along with them, and it's just so frustrating, the stuff that they're doing. And like, when I had that attitude, like, they weren't changing, nothing was happening, like, nothing changed until I changed. I had to like change my approach with them and be like, oh, like, well, instead of me just trying to tell you, no, you can't do that, you can't be like that, you can't do this, you can, like, all the things pointing out what they shouldn't be doing or the things that I don't like, I'm like, well, they're like that for a reason. Like, why don't you just ask them, like, hey, what do you need? Like, how can I help you? Like, let's build a friendship. Like, let's get to know each other more, and just go in with a little more curiosity and a little more compassion. Then it was like, oh, like, they realize, oh, they have a choice too. Like, I'm not trying to like steal their choice away anymore. I'm just and make them conform to what I want. It was like, no, this is about, we all need to make the decisions here, and I just want to make sure you're not hurting. Like, if, because when you're hurting also, it's hurting me because you're acting out in certain ways that can be harmful and destructive. And it's just more about leaning into them and finding out what it is that they need, and not being the person that's afraid. Like, they might try to push you away and try to be big and scary, but really at the end of the day, most of those parts I found out for us are like, they're smaller parts, and they just try to come off as big and bad and scary because that's the way that they protect. But really what they need is just give them a hug. Like, wrap your arms around yourself and imagine you're hugging them, and just let them know that you're there for them and that you want to help.
the way you describe that is so poignant. It makes us also think that, if we're looking for our parts to communicate with us, if we don't have respect, love, and compassion for them, why would they want to engage with us?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk to people that don't have any respect or compassion for me. I mean, sometimes I have to, but in general, I don't want to. But if you are able to see
Mm-hmm.
or even entertain the possibility, even if you don't understand how, but you entertain the possibility that parts that are challenging, darker, or scary, that they are doing something or that their intentions are good, they're trying to keep you safe. You can be curious about that. You can just say, I respect you. I know that what you're doing is, I don't understand how, but I know what you're doing is trying to keep us all safe. Like, could you explain to me what you're thinking and see what happens? But why would that part engage with us if they think that we're busy thinking horrible things about them?
Yeah, exactly. And if we've been doing that for so long and then all of a sudden we're trying to change, like, sometimes it takes more of an act of I don't know, like, I don't want to say like an offering, but like just like a peace offering, kind of like where we had one part that was like it really scared me for a bit. But really ended up just being this younger part. It was just in a lot of pain, and that was just the way that they were protecting. And they ended up like doing, like they opened up to a therapist in a session one time, and like I was just so amazed that they were able to like talk about some things. And the therapist at the time had recommended like, all right, like they did this, so what are you going to do for them? Like this is how you compromise. You work out things. Like you're helping me, let me help you, like, and you're helping each other. So she wanted me to ask him like, all right, like what are three things that you want, and put it on a paper, and then pick one of them and be like, all right, this I could do for you. So I was like, all right. I was like, I'm trying to find out if it's okay if I use his name. Okay, it's fine. So this is little DJ, and I was like, all right, little DJ, like what, like draw out what you want or write out what you want for me. And the main thing he wanted, okay, I had long hair before. It was really long, really curly, very long. He wanted his hair short. He wanted us to cut our hair. And I, like, if the therapist hadn't recommended like, hey, do something you can do, I wouldn't have ever thought of this, and I wouldn't have even considered that as an option. But out of the things that he wanted, this was the one he really, really wanted. And I was like, it's just hair. Like hair will grow back. Like no big deal. So actually, yeah, I chopped off the hair for him. And he was so beyond happy, like so excited, like grinning from ear to ear, and was just like, oh, and that was like, for us, that was the biggest step for us, because I was like, hey, look, I can help you guys out too. Like it's not just about what I want. Like I really didn't want my hair short. I really enjoy my long curly hair. But we did it. And our hair is still short because he loves it so much. And I try to let it grow out. And then I could just see like the sadness disappearing. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to, I do it for the kid. We'll keep it for the kid. It's worth it.
It's such an awesome example of how, when you're part of a system, you have to actually realize that you are a part of a system. It's not just you, even though you feel like it's all you in that moment that you're most conscious. And that we do have to,
Yes.
it's kind of annoying sometimes, not gonna lie. Right? Like we do have to make concessions. We have to make decisions together, or it doesn't go well. When you were telling the story about, little DJ wanting short hair, and you're like, it's just hair, it can grow back, it's something I can do. I had the opposite experience many years ago when one of our parts cut our hair really short, and it devastated a number of parts in this. Like it was miserable. I thought how long it took to grow back because that part went rogue, right? Like that part was like, this is what I
Yeah.
want. I have no recollection of it personally, but I remember the growing out stage, and it was quite painful. It's just, it's so cool how things can, if you can work together, it begins to change everything in your life.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. If a part goes rogue and just does what they want, that's when, like, I've noticed for our system, that's when it causes so much chaos. So now it's just about like, all right, don't just, and that includes with me. I can't just go make all these decisions without consulting everyone, or making my best attempt at consulting everyone, because everyone might not hear me when I'm talking inside. I might journal it, and maybe not everyone reads the journal. Like I do my best to make sure I'm asking within, hey, does anyone have a problem with this? Like this is a big decision. Like, are you guys okay with this? This is what I would like to do, and try to get their feedback on that, because we've even been in a relationship where it was like everybody wasn't on board. It was like one part went rogue, fell in love, and was like, this is what's happening, and I'm going to marry this person, and everybody's just going to get on board with it. And it was like, no, so much chaos. And it was like another part would come out and make things bad and break up and be like, kick them out and like all this stuff. And there would just be this back and forth, back and forth. Because then the other part was just going rogue and be like, nope, I don't want that. So I'm going to end it. And it was just like, oh my goodness, guys, like we need to get it together and like really just like have a consensus. Like, really, let's talk about who wants to stay together and why, and who doesn't and why. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we couldn't get everyone to agree on being in the relationship. So of course we had to come to agreement to, all right, we're ending this once and for all. This is just for the overall well-being of everybody. We just need to move forward.
The description of how that works was you described this so well. It's I think it's really helpful for so many people. I'm also thinking about what that might look like from the outside if somebody doesn't know that you're a system, right? Like what is going on? They're in, they're out, they're in, they're out, they're in, they're out. But yet you're so right. It's like all these different parts with all of these different thoughts and feelings, and some are aligned and some are not. And when you're kind of newly getting used to yourself as a system, it doesn't always occur to you to check in with all your parts about whether or not something is okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. I would recommend doing that because it could save you a lot of heartache and headache when you're going to be making decisions, especially with the major decisions. I mean, it's nice with all the decisions, but it's life. You're going to live and you're going to be in the moment and things are going to happen. But like, especially with big stuff, like make sure you're checking in with your system and seeing how everybody feels about it because you could save yourself a lot of drama.
Oh gosh, the drama and chaos, right? Do you guys have formal system meetings, or do you find that your communication tends to be more like on the fly these days?
It's more on the Yeah, it's more on the fly, and we've had a couple different therapists try to like have us set up a internal conference room and do all the things and create this room and get together, and it just doesn't work for us. I mean, we've tried it, and it's just like I still can't figure out how to get everyone around at the same time. Like I don't know how that works. I'm just like, hey, is anybody there? Anybody want to join? And I'm going to talk about this. Hey, does anybody have problems? I'm hoping you could hear me because I don't always get responses. And I'm just like, hey, and I'll just talk internally or I'll talk out loud because that's very helpful too. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you guys think about this. Please just let me know. I'm not going to, I'm going to wait and try to see if I get some feedback from you guys. But if I don't hear anything, then I'm going to move forward with this because I don't, what else am I supposed to do? So it's just about, I think, just having the intention of being like, hey, I'm trying to include you all. Like, I feel like that has made all the difference for us. Man, it is really hard to figure out what everybody wants all the time. And I still feel unsure of how to communicate to everyone or, but my heart is like set to where I'm like, I intentionally want to hear them and I want to like, I don't want to shut anyone out and I want to make sure everyone is able to speak in the way they can. So I'm just like trying to provide all the tools and all the things so that they could communicate to me and I could communicate with them. And so it's more definitely on the fly as things come up because really we have such a busy life anyways. So it's like having that time to just like take even like 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the day, sometimes that just feels like such a chore. And like it's like and then it's like causes, upset and like not everybody likes that. And it's just like, because maybe it's like, oh, this is my TV time. Like you worked all day. This is finally my TV time. I finally get my time to chill and watch what I want. And now you want to take time away from me. You work all day. And now you want to take time out of my time and it's just like, oh, okay, well, this is your time. It's like, whose time do you pull from? Like parts have their things they love to do, and trying to fit it all in a day is, I don't know where to find 5 minutes.
That is so real. And if you have parts that are overbearing, like work parts can be overbearing, and then like what little wants to go to work.
Mm,
And if you don't have any compromise, then they start causing problems at work.
mm,
Or parts that don't get time, right, will start causing problems when you actually, I mean, people who are not systems don't realize like how challenging it is to give everybody time in the body and give everybody time to do the things that they want to do. Because when you list it all out, holy shit, there's not enough time in the day.
oh my gosh, no. I'm so grateful and fortunate. Like most of our system is really into like these extreme sports that we do, so that is a really good outlet. Like, but even then, it's exhausting because I get so tired. I'm like, okay, we're in full swing of summer now, and like every weekend we've been doing something fun. For a different part wants to do this or do that, and it's like when we need a day off too. I need a day of rest. Like I'm getting older, and I need rest. But it's like, life is too short and we want to do this and we want to do that. And I don't get my time to do this. Is the only time and it's like, I'll figure it out.
It is not easy. We remember getting to a period of time of brainstorming. It's like, okay, like let's just make a list of what everybody wants and needs. And the list was overwhelming, right? You look at it and you're like, there is no flipping way that this can happen in the course of a day. And then it's negotiating how many times a week.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's only once a week that some people can get to do things because there's too much if you've got other obligations that you just need to do while you're also trying to rein in parts that are just night owls. Like, I don't know a system personally that doesn't have sleep issues.
Yes. No, like we have to take sleeping medication just to be able to go to sleep, or we would not fall asleep. So it's tough.
This makes sense to me. Like, I used to think that it was related to my eating disorder, because there's places where like you just can't sleep. And then it's like, oh no, actually, I think
Hmm.
maybe some of it was that, but I think, oh no, there's definitely parts that enjoy the wee hours of the morning, and
Yes.
it makes it really challenging to function the next day sometimes.
Yes, it's very complicated. It's hard to give everybody what they want. Like there's only one body and all of us are sharing one body.
Yeah.
Like, like there's just not enough hours in the day. Like there's every and life's too short. Like it's like how are we all going to do what we want in this small little life? Like, we're going to do our best. That's all we're going to do. We're going to do our best, and as long as we're still smiling, like, and things are okay, like, all right, we could deal, we could handle. But like when we start having like some issues, like if we're not getting enough sleep because one part just continually wants to stay up at night and not get to bed in time, like, then there's some issues, and that's when we have to like change things up. But as long as there's not any major issues, it's like, things are hunky dory ish. We just kind of just go with the flow with it and let it work until it doesn't work. And then we just reframe whatever's happening and regroup and figure out something
Yeah.
new that's going to work out.
I have two different places that I want to go based on what you just said. One is it reminds me of listening to, I want to say that it was on the CTAD Clinic YouTube channel quite a while ago. Pretty sure they did this talk about work. And there was this statement that they made about how, like, if you're the work part, sometimes you just got to work. And then when you come home, you have to give time to the littles and other parts, which means that you might not get much time to do fun stuff yourself. And listening to it, I remember thinking, like, God, that sucks though. Right. Because these are things that people who are not systems don't have to figure out. Like, if you don't have parts and you're going to work and you come home, like, you can do whatever the heck you want and that feels good to you. But imagine being the part that is primarily the work part and you don't actually get to read your book because your littles have to do X and your middles have to do Y. And some of your like older teens have to do Z.
Hmm.
And maybe you get like 30 minutes on a Sunday and that's it. And it's one of those things where I remember personally, like my reaction to that was like, God, that sucks. And but it's also so real if we want to be functional, to make sure that work happens.
Yeah.
There are definitely sacrifices you make as being a part in a system.
Oh yeah. Big, big time. Yeah, I don't think people realize that. I feel like it might be a little understated actually because uh people on the outside, they just see us as one person. Like we're this one person, and you know you might be getting extra stressed out here and there, but it's like we're really really stressed out sometimes because we just can't we can't, like, I can't always operate. Like I'm like, you know what, I'm tapped out, like I'm exhausted, and you guys just want to go 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 and do stuff, and now I'm cranky, and I haven't had, like, I've been trying to give you guys time to do your things, but I haven't had the time that I need a day to just chill and do nothing. But there's not the time for when do I need my time. And then I just break down, and I'm like, then we're just all having to be in bed because I'm like, dude, I've broken down. Like I don't know what you expect from me. I'm so exhausted. I can't, or I have to call out of work because I'm like so exhausted. I just can't get out of bed. I'm like, no, that is not okay. This is not what we do. We need to take care of all of ourselves and make sure everyone has the time. Otherwise, that will happen. Somebody will
Yep.
burn out somewhere.
Totally remember having to the realization of like, well, that's one of the places I've been screwing up, right? Like not giving certain parts time that they need. Other more obvious place that I was screwing up was really not wanting to actually hear things. Why is my communication not that great? Oh, right, because I don't actually want to hear it. It's like the Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? I don't want to. Like, like
girl, I don't. I'm like always like, oh, I want to hear you. I want to hear you. And then like I don't hear nothing back. And then they'll talk when I'm not ready to listen. I'm like, no, I'm busy right now. Like I asked you earlier and you didn't talk to me. Now you want to talk? No, 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 no. This is my time now to
Right.
like, oh shoot. Dang it. I gotta, can't always be on my time. It's gotta be their time too. So just trying to figure out that compromise. Lots of compromise.
So hard to figure that out when you're like, oh, I don't actually get to call all the shots, so I have to drop everything to attend to you right now. That was not my plan.
Yeah, but they'll remind you.
And then invariably, there's parts in there that are like, well, what makes you think that you make all the plans anyway? Control freak. Like,
Yeah, who put you in charge? Who said you're in charge? It's because that one therapist said that you're the leader and that you get to be the mom of all of us. No, you're not my mom. Like, you are right. I'm just as equal as you are. Like, what makes you get to make the final decision? Who says you're in charge? Just because you might share the name with the body. So what? What's that mean?
oh, such a rich area though, right? Because that happens in therapy with people all the time, where the therapist just like assumes that one part is like
Oh,
the main host or the main part. And then each week they're like, well, can so and so come back? And it's like, I'm sorry, so and so is one part that is equal to the rest of us. Like, there is not a hierarchy in here necessarily. I get some systems have hierarchies, but not all systems do. And you can set a system up for disaster with that dynamic in session.
yeah, we've had some therapists that try to be like, all right, you got to be the mom for everybody. And I'm like, I'm not being, I have no desire to be a mom, never wanted to be a mom. I don't want to be a mom now. I shouldn't have that responsibility. I don't think I would be a great person to fill that role. And my therapist telling me I have to do it. And I'm like, no, 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 that ain't going to work for me because no. And then like continuing on with it, like, you got to do, I'm like, no. Just I'm taking a step back from that because I'm not the boss of anybody. I don't want to be the boss of anybody myself, of course. Me, I'm my own boss. I love that. But like I don't want to tell them what to do or treat them like they're my children because they have an equal say. Like they get an equal voice.
Do you think this is ironic? We have people saying, all parts are important, all parts are equal, but then they act like we're not.
Yeah, but somebody's got to be in charge. Why? Says who?
Right.
Who said that? Like, really? Is that like a requirement of DID treatment? Like, one person has to be in charge now? No, not here.
Also, the therapists who are correct when they're like, make sure that you're checking inside and working together, but then they tell you like you have to take care of all of the littles. But well, can we ask inside? Maybe there's somebody else that's better at it.
Yeah,
How come you tell me to ask inside, but like you just tell me that I have to do something that's not even part of my role?
yeah, you just gave me the responsibility. Like, what about, why don't you ask somebody to take care of me? That would be nice.
Wouldn't that be great?
What? I'll let some of them just take care of me. That'll be fun for a while. Like, okay, no, nobody wants to be taken care of unless they want to be taken care of. And I mean, I do. I'm just putting it out there, guys, just letting you know if anyone wants to coddle me and cuddle me and just like take care of me because I'm exhausted of like, because I'm like the main voice for us. I'm the main out front and getting it out there, but I'm tired too. And I would love it to be taken care of.
Sometimes I think this hierarchy comes from some of the models that researchers and providers have put together. And the researchers and the providers are not actually, they don't have lived experience. So they kind of invalidate
Mm,
the experiences of systems where parts are kind of more level. There isn't a hierarchy, not understanding that that's a perfectly valid way to live. It's important to get cooperation and collaboration between all of those parts and figuring out who's going to take care of what.
mm-hmm,
But if you're hung up on this kind of hierarchical
mm-hmm.
theoretical model and you're trying to superimpose that on every single system that you meet, it's not going to work. And it's going to frustrate
Mm-mm.
many systems and make things work for them. So flexibility, I feel like, is really important.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Especially because like I think I'm the only one in my system that totally identifies as an adult. I mean, I think there's a couple other adults, but they haven't really given an age. I just kind of put them in the adultish category. But like most of my system is comprised of well, not my system. They hate it when I say that. And I hate it when I say that. Our system is comprised of mostly teenagers and little kids. So it varies from age 2 to 17 in there. And we are all the way in there. And so for the therapist one time, she told me, well, you're the adult, so you are in charge. What? No, oh, the kids, they don't get to make the choice. They're a child. I'm like, excuse? Like, I don't know if you understand how this works, but just because they have an age, they're actually they're a lot more wise because they've been around for so long. They might still be at that age, but they're not. Like a 7-year-old isn't really seven as a outside 7-year-old would be in our system. It's way more complex than that. Like way more complex. Like I have a 13-year-old that, man, she is, oh, one therapist just wouldn't let her be who she was at 13 because she's only 13. But it's like, no, she is way more wise beyond her years. And she is like an old soul. Like she's been through so much. She is not your typical 13-year-old. So yeah, she gets to make a lot of adult decisions. And that is fine because it's CID systems are a little bit different. It's not the same as outside children.
So many people do not understand that at all. And it's really nice to hear systems like you explaining that to people. And I can think of Holly Crumpler, right, who Petals of Rose documentary.
Mhm.
They were doing a workshop at Healing Together. I don't know if you saw it, but they were talking about her, I think her part Susie is 6 years old.
Mhm.
And that her son and husband were talking about how like one day they came in and Susie was doing the family taxes because Holly herself used to be an accountant, right? And like that, it's so classic because it's like, right, when you have a 6-year-old who has been six for like 40 years, they are different than a regular 6-year-old. So if we continue to try to shove parts of a system into these chronological categories of actual development of outside children, it doesn't work.
Nope, definitely. Because we even have younger parts that love to do work. They like to do adult things. They're like, oh yeah, I like this. This is fun. I like this. This is my like, and they'll come out of work and do parts of it, which has its ups and its downs because sometimes I feel like that's where a lot of my amnesia for amnesia comes in. Anyway, at work, that could be a little bit tricky when you have to remember things. If I say no, you cannot come out at work, that would just cause anarchy, like it's just got to be, there's got to be some boundaries and,
Mhm.
there just has to be some unwritten rules, I guess, per se. But
Yep.
there's just got to be like system rules like, hey, this is how we got to operate as a system. If we're going to come and you're going to show up at work, you got to make sure X, Y, and Z is not okay and that's off limits. And, and just kind of set some parameters.
They can have some of the best creative ideas and some of the best solutions for situations, some of the most fun and best spontaneity.
Yep. Yeah.
Highly valued members of the system. They can make traveling a little challenging. How many stuffies do we have to pack?
Yeah.
So, taking a little bit of a turn, but related to what we've been talking about in terms of like system communication, working together, that kind of thing. You had mentioned that you guys deal with other issues, which I think is really common for those of us who are systems, right? We either have chronic illnesses, we have co occurring mental health issues, or both. Like different parts of the system can also have different mental health issues or different physical issues. I'm wondering how you manage like maintaining progress in kind of managing those other issues at the same time, if that makes sense. Because I know we've had difficulty with parts not taking medication because like they don't have that physical issue, right? Or like they will make plans that might be really challenging for another part because they don't deal with anxiety or something to that effect. How do you guys manage those issues together as a system?
Oh, goodness. What a great question because it's been a process. So the body's age is 44, okay? Just to put a little timestamp here. We had some major issues going on starting around actually age 13, eating disorder developed a couple years after that. Drug addiction and alcoholism joined on. We had dealing with some self-injury stuff, suicidal ideation. We had major depression at one point. And it was very overwhelming. There's a lot. And the thing that has helped is just not giving up, like refusing to not get well. Like we're going to get well one way or another, gonna keep trying. Been doing like 12-step programs trying to stay clean and sober. This chunk of time around, we have 7 years, but we've had 9 years before. We've had a couple years, and it's just like one part decided to go rogue. I'm like, I'm going to do my own thing. And it's like, what? I just lost all that time because you decided to just do whatever. And it was more frustrating than anything for the longest time. But really, like, my motto is just don't give up. No matter what, don't give up. Keep going. Keep trying. Don't know what's going to work. Not sure how this is going to happen. Don't know how I'm going to get everyone on board. But I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to do what needs to be done. Going through treatment for the eating disorder, that was really challenging because, again, different parts, different eating disorders, different. It's just like, oh. So it was just like, keep trying. Don't give up. Keep going. And then, especially getting one part on board, that was a big, big challenge because she shared in a lot of the eating disorder, and it was really challenging to get her to buy in on it. Like, she didn't want no part of it, like nothing at all. And she was one of the ones that I had a time with, like, just like getting along with, because it was just like, you know what, I don't know how to deal with this part. They just seem like they're always like off doing their own thing, so rebellious, just like not listening to anyone, does their own thing no matter what. And that was very challenging, but it was like trying to find, like, at least for her, trying to find ways to help her feel included, like empower her, let her have a decision, let her make her own choices. And also be like, yeah, like, help her come to see how it wasn't benefiting her. Like, there was other ways we could get her what she needed without having to do X, Y, and Z. It's just, whoo, not giving up. I'm just gonna say that because at the end of the day, I feel like we still are overcoming things. Like, and it's not like I can't say we're like perfect with everything, but we're fully recovered from the eating disorder now. We've got 7 years clean and sober. It's been a long time since we've had a suicide attempt, and for the most part, I feel like our system is more pretty happy. In fact, one of our therapists asked us the other day, and this caused a ruckus too. Well, she didn't really ask us. She made a statement. And this is a new therapist, mind you. It had only been like the fifth time we've seen her. She was like, your system is really pretty stable. She said nobody's really going out and doing their own thing and like causing a ruckus. And it was just like, what does that mean? Like, we really read into it because it's just like, we worked so hard to get to this point. We have gone through so many treatment programs, 12-step programs, like online self-help stuff, reading books, and all the therapists, and all the time since about age 19, is the body's age of 19, was when I just tried to start getting, like, go towards recovery, like, find some answers, figure out what's going on, get some healing, break the generational curses, all those things, and just starting the journey. And it's been a long, long process, but I feel like we're in such a stable-ish spot now because we've put in all those years of work and all the years of effort, and going through the years of therapy to get the safety and the stabilization with other therapists, just to get to this point to be with the therapist now that she just sees butterflies and rainbows. And it's like, you really have no idea, just because that's what it looks like on the outside. That is not the experience internally, but we look really well now. Like, to the outside, we look like we're doing great, which mostly we are now. But there's still some struggle. There's still some parts that are having some issues. There's still, we don't just give up now because, like, oh, we've made it. Like, now it's time to deal with the trauma. Like, okay, we're in the space. Now we're safe and stable enough to do it. Now the real work begins. Like, now here we go, and yeah. So for us, that's just how it's looked. That's been our experience.
It's so real though, and I think so helpful for people to know and understand there's this expectation that healing is going to be linear, even though we talk all the time about how healing is not linear, right? And even stabilization is not linear.
Mhm.
And so sometimes, like, our experience has been, we have some chronic illness. We also have some other mental health issues also that we've dealt with. And it's been sometimes finding what works now, and then it'll stop working and we have to regroup and find what's going to work, again.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's issues around getting, like, whether it's supplements or certain medications for a physical illness. And then it's like we figure out how to get those in, but then it stops working. So then what's plan B? Same thing for mental health issues. And literally love what you said about just don't give up, keep at it, because that's kind of the only real solution. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, you're there. you're there for you. Like, even when there's treatment professionals that are failing you, because there will be professionals that are going to fail you because they're human too. Like, you're your own advocate. Like, it's up to you. You gotta decide. You gotta make a choice. Like, well, what do you want in life? You want to settle? Do you want more? Like, what do you see at the, like, what's your magical life look like at the end? Like, and go towards that. Like, you may get there, you may not, but you're like, yeah, I'm doing everything I can to make sure I'm not going to be like the people that raised me. I'm going to do it better. I'm going to do it different. I'm going to not make those same mistakes, and I'm going to learn how to not make new mistakes, and just do all the things, like, at the end of the day, no one's perfect. You're not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be perfect, but I could do better than I did yesterday. And then some days I could do worse. But like, learning how to ebb and flow with it and be okay with that. And whew, because that's the tough part, accepting that, like, yeah, I'm a fallible human being and I'm going to mess up. Even when I say I'm not going to, yes, I'm going to let myself down. Like, that's just the reality of life. But just having the intentions to do better and also following through with things, doing better. Keep your word. Like, it's so important. Keep your word to your parts, keep your word to other people, and I feel like everything else will just work its way out somehow.
The importance of keeping one's word. Because if you don't,
Yeah.
there will be trouble.
Mm,
There definitely will.
yes. All around.
Two quick questions as we wrap up. What piece of advice would you give therapists who are just starting out in treating people who are systems, like they're just beginning to realize, oh, actually, I have clients who are systems?
Oh, yeah. I would say learn everything that you can about it. Do not, like, invalidate your client, because if they're telling you this is their experience and they think this is what's going on, if like there's someone like me coming to you, but like, this is what I think is happening, don't say no, you don't have that. Like, figure it out with them. Go along the journey, even if in the back of your brain you're thinking, nah, like, be open to learning. Like, realize you don't have all the answers. No one does. There's still new research coming out. There's still, the language changes. Like, trust your client. Your client is always going to know themselves better than anybody else because they're living their life. Listen to them, learn what's going on with them, ask them questions. Don't just make up your mind about stuff and dismiss them. Like, that's so infuriating. Like, I was trying to tell my therapist that, like, hey, another therapist said that, like, she thinks I'm on the autism spectrum, and, like, first off, she was like, nope, you're not. I've had 2 sessions with you so far, and I've seen autism before, and you definitely don't have it. And I'm like, whoa, 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 why are you saying that? Like, hello, like, okay, so now I don't feel comfortable and safe to open up to you because you have a bad experience, because last year everybody had autism, and now it's like everyone thinks they have autism, everyone's coming to me for autism. It's like, dude, but, like, legit, I've taken some legitimate tests, like, I've done, like, hello, like, all right, you're not the one for that. Obviously you can help me with the daddy stuff, sure, but I'm not going to take you that because you've already shut it down. I don't feel comfortable now. So just don't shut your clients down no matter what, even if you don't know anything about DID. Like, learn. There's great groups, there's resources, even the System Speak, join the community because they have great resources for therapists. Go to the Healing Together conference. Oh my goodness, go to the Healing Together conference. I think 50% of the people that were there were therapists this year, and there was quite a few people, and you could learn so much. But definitely don't rely on the half hour or the day long training that you had in school. Definitely find people who with DID clients, get a mentor, get somebody you could shadow or who could help, like, shadow you with, clients, and definitely ask questions and keep an open mind. And at the end of the day, no matter what you're treating them, you're treating a human being, like, and you don't have all the answers. Let the client guide you on where you're going. You're on a journey with them, and they're your teacher. So learn from them.
Love that. Believe people, get consultation, be open, create a safe enough space, like such good advice that people really need to take and take it to heart. You mentioned earlier a couple of resources that you like know of, like System Speaks community. A couple of multiples have started their community. What are some other like favorite resources of yours, whether that's social media accounts or books or anything that you'd like to share with people who are looking for more resources?
Yeah, I basically like my Instagram account was full of other systems because I like will follow one system and then I'll be like, oh, who are they following or who's following them? And I try to like go through and try to make sure I follow like reputable accounts and stuff because there could be just a gray area out there in all social media, of course. But yeah, I will follow another system based off another system. Like I like the Gianu system. I'm trying, my mind's drawing a blank right now, but there's all these systems that I'm following and I just like follow everybody and that's how I also build my community. Because I'm like, oh, there's people out there that are vlogging, and I know there's a lot of good YouTube channels. I followed a lot of YouTube channels back in the day too, not so much now because now I'm more on Instagram on that platform. And I watch the vlogging more instead of the longer videos, but that's just for my attention span. um, but yeah, I would just say try one try one out and then see like who they're following and then go give those people a follow and just kind of like go from there.
Great advice in building community. Plus, I feel like the DID community online on social media in particular is a very accepting, kind, and loving community, very open to sharing wisdom and resources and just being there for each other. It's a really beautiful place.
Yes, yes, it is.
I'm so excited you came on today. Thank you so much for being here and for just sharing so openly and explaining things in ways that I think are really going to resonate with a lot of people. So grateful.
Well, thank you so much because we were so excited for this when you asked us. It was like, what? You want us to come on? That's crazy. So we were just excited to like share our experience and, we're just a human being, but like we have a lot of lived experience and we really just want to help other people any way that we can. So yeah, this was just like you made our life by asking us to be on this podcast. So thank you.
Oh my God, you made ours by coming on because I feel like the more voices that are out there, the more experiences that are out there, the more people are going to feel validated and heard and get the help that they need. And therapists are going to get the skills that they need to help the people. And it's just all about building that community. So I'm super grateful for our connection, for you being here. Yeah, just grateful.
Thank you so much.
And to all who tuned in for this episode, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope this conversation was helpful to you. And whether you are someone with dissociative identities, a supporter, or a provider, if you found value here, please consider sharing this podcast so that we can reach more people and hopefully ease their journeys and continue to dismantle stigma. We wish you all a wonderful rest of your week. And until next time, let's keep healing. Thank you for tuning in. You can find our blog on Substack at healingmyparts.substack.com and on Instagram at healingmyparts. Just a disclaimer, any information shared in this podcast is not a substitute for professional therapy or behavioral health care, nor does listening to the podcast constitute a therapist-client relationship. Please be sure to take extra good care of you. And until next time, keep healing and thriving.